right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation, Lean Data Factory. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Matt Ryan, one of the five co-founders of Kythera Lab. And as we've grown, my focus has been on building out the infrastructure, data engineering, and production operations. So I'm the technologist of that group. So this is meant to be real high level. I'll try and do that. It's hard for me, so please bear with me. Also presenting with me today is Josue Bogran, who works at Kythera as our solution architect manager. He has a background in data analytics, architecture, and data engineering. He's also worked in the supply chain field for 5 years. And that's where the theme of this presentation sort of came from. That was the idea he had. And he's also been recently named a Databricks beacon.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So our agenda today, the idea was we'll use analogy of a manufacturing process over the concept of data pipelining, building data products in the healthcare industry. And we'll focus in on the concept of lean manufacturing, you may have heard that, and how it applies to data intelligence platform. So I thought I'd get it started by getting this sort of in the manufacturing mindset. And it made me think of a favorite show of mine back from the 90s, How It's Made. You guys might all remember that. It's still out there, I'm sure, syndication somewhere. But they described the assembly line process of all kinds of products we take for granted. It was always mesmerizing to me, all these things whirring through various machines, slowly reshaping them, morphing them into something more useful in the end. Efficient, flowing, automated, super fast. The workers just monitoring the machines to make sure the run is good. Valuable things just dropping off the end into packaging and then onto pallets and off to the market. And I always like to think of my code sort of that way too. But first, I'll define like what is a data intelligence platform. You know, we're all here. This is sort of what Databricks will say for it. But in our talk here, it's sort of the factory, right? In our analogy, it's the factory. And of course, it's comprised of the machines that, you know, are our assembly line, in our case, cloud storage and compute. But it has to be much more than just a data center, right? It's got to have the Spark runtimes, the serverless technology, data sharing, governance, a framework for building pipelines in modern languages like Python, as well as all the various integrations that are needed for streaming, business intelligence tools, the APIs, the CLIs, and so on. But it also has to run in a managed, compliant, secure data center in the cloud, of course. And these things like we take for granted now are the scalable clusters and boundless amounts of storage. And considering where we came from, this was Kythera in 10 years ago. That was our data center in rural Tennessee. The lead entrepreneur of the group bought a bunch of used internet servers, drove them over in the back of his pickup truck, fired them up, and we were in business. We prayed thunderstorms would roll through. We prayed that, they wouldn't knock out the power because our UPS was untested and old as well. So, and I was administering the whole thing. And that's when we came about 8 or 10 years ago, came across Databricks. So we've been working with them a long time. They may were around 1.0 back then, and 100 employees, 150 employees. But they had scalable resources in Spark runtimes that were managed by the contributors to the Spark open source. So I had that decision to make between this and that cloud data center or that. I think they had me at scalable clusters at that point, managed by the open source contributors. So that's, we've been a partner with them for a long time now. It's been a great working with them as they've evolved their platform into this business intelligent platform, growing it with sharing technologies, serverless, and continuing to innovate and build on new amazing things into the platform. So with that, the business intelligent platform is our factory in this analogy. I'll turn it over to Josue at this point, and he'll go over the concepts of what lean manufacturing so we can apply it.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to thank everyone here that came today. It's really an honor and privilege for me to be up here representing both Kythera, which is helping impact the lives of your loved ones through our health products, through our health-centered products. Additionally, it's also an honor for me to be speaking here in my first tech conference ever, representing Databricks in a way, shape, or form. So thank you so very much for that. Back to lean. As Matt said, I've been in supply chain for about 5 years. And if you know a thing about supply chain, every single dollar matters when it comes to especially your cost of goods. It's probably the same in many of your businesses as well, or in your organizations. So I'll keep this part very simple. The purpose of lean, which is the best way to think about lean is, its purpose is to reduce your cost without jeopardizing or decreasing the quality of the product or services, that you serve. So as some of you may know also, it started off by Toyota. And over time, I think it began with 5 lean principles, eventually moved on to 7, which is more like the standard. And nowadays I hear 8, but I refuse to think that it's 8 and it's just 7. So quick overview of what the 7 types of waste in lean are. There's overproduction, which is very self-explanatory. You're making way too much compared to the demand that you have for your products or services. There's waiting, that's another one of the waste. And well, waiting is maybe you have someone in the assembly line waiting, doing nothing, waiting for the new part that they actually need. That's a type of waste. You're spending money in that regard. There's transportation. Like Jensen said today at the keynote, it's not efficient to be going from one place to go back to your office so that you can provide an answer to a question, as he was talking about AI, BI tools. Overprocessing is doing unnecessary work. Think of it like wrapping something twice when once would have done it. There's also inventory, having more inventory than you should, or perhaps too much data compared to what you should have and be paying for in terms of storage, because no one here likes to pay for storage fees. Motion, it's fidgeting around trying to find the right tools, the right parts that you need instead of having everything clearly labeled and just ready to go. And then you have defects, and that is really the need to, say, recall a product, because that's going to cost you money in your repairs and perhaps having to set some parts out of the market. So.
All right, so back to me now. I'll go over more detail our Wayfinder manufacturing process, in the factory. Wayfinder is our branded name for our built-on and data processing products. So it's comprised of a couple things. I just summarized it here as like the batch pipelines that we use to build the data products, our built-on, which is our Databricks offering, and Unity catalog, of course, for the distribution. And I'll associate how they address the various forms of waste. So at the highest level, it starts with our raw materials. We take in huge volumes of crude healthcare claims data on a daily basis. We master it, combine it with other dimensional data from the industry so that it's ready for the business analysis by the business leaders. And then we make it as available as efficiently as possible and a platform ready to handle these big data assets. Digging a little bit deeper into our batch pipeline, I call the claims data crude because it comes in from a variety of disparate sources with all different formats, different types of dirt in the data. And so we get in tens of millions of claims lines a day, and process them into a de-identified, consistent, refined, cleaner, denormalized, common format. This is what we summarize by calling it remastering. Sort of like an old recording or something where you put it on a more durable medium and get rid of the static. So it's a lot of cleaning up and preparing that raw material. So that's our common input model. And like they say, 80% of data science is data preparation. So that's what we have at that point. But then we take it a lot farther by building baseline analytics and doing machine learning on that remastered input to create even more refined asset tables, more zeroed in on specific use cases, such as surgical events, diagnostic, chronic conditions, physical therapy, and a few others.
There.
And then once we have all that, oh, wait a minute, I forgot the one part.
To cover that.
My notes are there, whatever, I'll have to remember. So transport, how that eliminates the transport is not having to kind of move data from platform to platform to meet various tools. The defects, like I've mentioned before, are kind of removed in the raw materials before we get into our further refinement process. So it's part of that assembly line process. And what motion is probably, because everything's in one slot, the data intelligence platform, it's one kind of place, right? So all the tools are brought there instead of bringing the data to the tools themselves. Then it brings us to the built-on, which is, again, in short, what built-on is we basically own the Databricks account and the AWS infrastructure, and we're able to spin up workspaces for our clients, and we do the administration for it. So, that includes like a combined billing and all these kind of things that are some pain points for some of our people who are doing it on their own. But to me, this is like the packaging department in our analogy here. It leans out to overproduction by letting Databricks manage and enhance all the tools and technologies like serverless and connectors. And that lets us focus more on the business value of the data in its very many use cases. The platform leans out the motion waste by creating all ways to get data to the BI tools and from the back-end processes. And again, not having to move it into a Power BI or move it into another SQL tool or off of Databricks. And then the overproduction, again, it's we're able to process it once and distribute it many times. Then Unity Catalog. Now, this has been a big product from Databricks for a while. We've worked with them since the beginning on that. And that's the distribution part of the system. With data sharing, it's really easy to see how that would reduce transport and inventory waste, right? Like there's no ETL flows copying data from one place to another. And there's no duplicate copies, right? Because you're able to share this to our many clients. We're able to share it many times, but just have one copy of it. And we're able to share it to them with views that are custom to their subscription and their use case. So with motion and waiting are reduced because clients don't have to wait for extra jobs to get the increments out to them. Or if we find data fixes, which you find a lot in raw materials of this volume, they don't have to wait for that. All we have, it all is centralized at one location. So as soon as that data set is updated, all of our customers get to see it in real time through their views. And I guess I tag defects here too because of how it's those fixes are sort of being able to be fixed on the fly without a lot of work. So that's really a quick rundown of our manufacturing process, right? Like it's meant to be a high-level overview, much like those 10-minute little segments in how it's made. There's a lot more detail, obviously, at the process level and how the technologies are used. But the important thing is now that we've delivered these refined products to our clients, it's done inside of Databricks. And so while we've created lean processes, they have the same tools available to them because they are not necessarily end consumers. They want to do more work and refinement of our data products to meet their specific business needs and integrate it with their business. So I'll turn it back to Josue here a little bit, who works more closely with our clients on a day-to-day basis as they kind of get it to that last mile analytics.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. And quick note on the Unity Catalog. Matt was part of the technical council for the Unity Catalog. So what you see today for the Unity Catalog in part had Matt's influence.
I have the puffy jacket.
Yes, he had a cool jacket. So anyway, so this is one of my favorite parts, and really my favorite part of the presentation on my end. I get to talk about Databricks, and how that works is we have our awesome product, our awesome data that we've delivered to our customers inside of their own Wayfinder or Databricks. And now the customers have all that data available to them, and so now what? Well, for many of our customers, it's the first time they're ever using Databricks. So I get to show them around Databricks. So for example, I get to show them about notebooks, which is one of my favorite parts about Databricks in terms of the language flexibility. You could potentially, in one same notebook, write something in Python, and in a cell below, write it in SQL. You might be like, well, isn't that kind of messy? Well, sometimes there are solutions that are not available in one language or another, and being able to overcome a challenge all within the same notebook, personally, I found that to be very powerful and something that our clients find very helpful too. So you have someone that's an R expert, they can access our data using R or Python or SQL. They can use that using the notebook. The other thing that I really like too about Databricks is I like to show the SQL editor, which I would say it's my second top feature that I enjoy from what Databricks has to offer. Things I enjoy about it is, if you're familiar with SQL Server Studio, which I think many of us started with that, it's a very similar experience, except much better. You can explore the data easily, connected to the unit, with great navigation. Right now, you have added features that help leverage the comments, for example, from the Unity catalog inside of the SQL editor, which is also a very wonderful thing when you're exploring data and you're trying to understand how did the analyst before, how did he build this query? And well, they're building a lot of features around that, so very helpful. And of course, the SQL editor uses the SQL serverless warehouses, which all-purpose compute, can take about 4 minutes to boot up. SQL serverless, it's about 4 seconds. I'm gonna move here. It takes about 4 seconds, which comes in quite handy. And one of the things about the SQL editor too that I really enjoy is, yes, you can export it into Excel. You can export your results into Excel, which we all know all roads lead to Excel. And you can also do pie charts in there too. It's going too fast there. Like I shared, we have the SQL serverless warehouses. I already kind of gave it away. It's 4-second boot up time, makes it very efficient, very less waiting, less waste on the waiting for you. But one of the other things that I enjoy about it is some of that overhead management that the SQL serverless warehouse has as part of the DB-SQL engine. And there are situations where perhaps a workload will just work so much better using the SQL serverless warehouses, so I enjoy that. Additionally, some of our customers will take our data and maybe mix it with some of their data, or just do different analysis on it and do all sorts of transformation and work that's meaningful for the reason why they signed up to do business with us. And with that, setting up workflows that will leverage job compute, which is a lot cheaper than all-purpose compute, is very handy for our customers to save them money. And like I mentioned, you have the all-purpose compute, which that's what you need to be able to run SQL, Python, Scala, and R all in one single place. So, and one of the cool things too is the ability to scale out and scale in, which over time Databricks has gotten very, very good with this. So it's a feature that I've enjoyed how it's matured over time. This would not be a presentation in 2024 if I didn't talk about AI. So I have to throw this out here. As you may be familiar, there's the SQL AI functions. Like some of those, we saw them today during the keynote. With SQL AI, you get access to some quick functions such as summarize or even direct access to leverage DBRX or Llama 3 inside of your SQL experience, which I've personally found very handy and really help quick wins for customers, and as well they can deliver quick wins for you and your needs. Additionally, Databricks AI Assistant. I really love this. If you're like me, you have very imperfect code. So what that means is I'll write something and then it doesn't work, which happens to all of us. But I like the ability to quickly hit diagnose code so I can figure out what went wrong and get the suggestions instead of copy pasting into ChatGPT and trying to figure out the answer. And one last thing on that. If you've heard me talk before in other ways, you know that I really love the comments from the Unity catalog. And I love that the Databricks AI Assistant leverages that as well to build your queries for you. Last but not least, we have the Unity catalog, which I won't spend too much time since I think Matt covered it pretty well. Love the integration with comments. Love that the most practical way that I could think of for perhaps many of the business use cases out here. Leverage the comments so that when you have analysts that perhaps are new to your company, they'll be able to understand what the data is about, what those fields are about, what the table is about, and really decrease some of the friction with having to reach out to someone and say, hey, what's this table about? Leverage those. And like I said, there's the workflows, which help you schedule things. It's very flexible. Really, you have a full platform all in one single place without having to bundle a lot of tools together, which I don't know about you, but I do not like having to bundle tools. It's for organizations, the bigger that they get, it's going to mean a lot of IT resources, and I just love how it's all in one single place.
Okay, so what's the future for Kythera Databricks? One of the things we're really focusing on is building our features out in Python and getting more workloads to serverless. Because we right now to this point have been selling a lot of data products. The whole idea is we can now sell those processes that build those data products for our clients out in the marketplace, because we can extend through Python wheels and all our feature functionality. Of course, bringing in more and more data to our platforms, various different types, so that they can bring their value into our analytics that are packaged now. We're also working to incorporate Sigma dashboards. Sigma is a BI tool that's new, and their way of embedding and licensing is really interesting to extending the UI experience of Databricks. Of course, we've been involved with the AI BI Genie tools. We've been out in front with them in their preview versions of that, bringing AI to our clients. Of course, it's been embedded in our processes all along in our back end, but now we're going to be able to help our clients leverage it more in their day-to-day work. A lot of things that we're involved with, Databricks default storage. It's another way to get, it's like serverless for storage. We're part of that preview there. Liquid clustering, it's another way to get some more of efficient way of joining your data, and that's something that we're working to replace our Hive partitioning. So we're looking forward to kind of moving all those kind of things forward with Databricks, as we've been we're all in with delivering our things on Databricks. So that's really what we wanted to really present here to you today. We have some resources on our websites if you want to read out more about Kythera and how we've leveraged Databricks. All right, if you have any questions, feel free. The team is here as well. Appreciate your time and listening to us describe our processes on the data intelligence.
Yes, thank you so very much, Al.